And we're good. Thank you, everybody, for this evening attending our meeting of the Board of Health on Monday. Today is April 4th. And with that, may we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to start our meeting off this evening with our public health update. Thankfully, the COVID numbers, as they have the last couple of months, have been coming down, which is a very welcome thing. The following information is based on the most recent available data released by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health as of Thursday, March 31st, 2022. With 4 of the 10 communities around Winchington seeing COVID increasing as a new COVID variant has established itself, the region continues to report a lower overall positivity rate as 2 towns tested at 0 positivity percent, and the 14-day COVID positivity average for our 10-town area decreased to 2.55%. In the last 7 days, Winchington has dropped from 2.60 to 1.70% positivity based on 588 molecular tests. Ashburnham increased from 1.85 to 3.40%, and Westminster increased from 3.72 to 4.45%. Ashby, 2 towns away, dropped dramatically from 5.17 to just 0% of all persons tested. Templeton went down just slightly from 4.78 to 4.75%, and Phillipston reported an increase from 2.82 to 3.95%. The city of Gardner next door dropped from 2.56 to 2.41%, and Hubbardston, just south of Gardner, 2 towns away, dropped from 3.06 to 2.68%. The town of Athol increased slightly from 1.73 to 2.15%, and its school district member, town of Royalston, for the 3rd consecutive week, tested at 0.00%. Additionally, just to the west of Athol, the town of Orange registered at 2.68. Locally, the Twin Cities, Leominster tested at 2.16% and Fitchburg at just 1.91. Massachusetts' largest city, Boston, tested at just 1.61% based on 103,000 molecular tests. City of Worcester tested at just 0.73%. That's under 1% on 38,000 tests. And Springfield, the Commonwealth's 3rd largest city, registered at 1.37% based on 11,000 tests. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health lists the Commonwealth 14-day COVID testing average as slightly up from the previous week, increasing from 1.7 to 1.98, or 2%. As of March 31st, 2022, the DPH also lists 5,321,722 of its 6.9 million residents as now fully vaccinated. In Winchington, virtually all vaccination categories remain unchanged from the previous month. Children ages 5 to 11 register as 22% fully vaccinated and 25% partially vaccinated. Children ages 12 to 15 show as 41% fully vaccinated and 45% partially. Teens ages 16 to 19 are 47% fully vaccinated and 54% partially vaccinated. Overall, Winchington continues to report 6,041, or 56% of its residents fully vaccinated, and 6,783, or 63% of its residents partially vaccinated, out of a Mass Department of Public Health listed 10,785 persons. And just for any confusion out there, for reasons I have still not been able to establish, the Mass Department of Public Health population still does vary from the federal census population. I have not been able to come out why the federal census actually lists us under 10,000 people, which makes no sense.
No.
So I'm telling you, I can't make sense of the census. I've tried, but just for anybody who's wondering. In Worcester County as a whole, currently 79% of people ages 12 and up are fully vaccinated. 75% of people ages 5 and up are fully vaccinated in Worcester County. Ages 12 and up with at least one dose register now at 89%, and ages 5 and up with at least one dose register at 85%. 54% of Worcester County residents are now fully vaccinated with an additional booster shot, and with the fully vaccinated boosted average for Massachusetts at 1% higher, now at 55%. In closing, you may have heard there is, as expected, a new COVID variant which has developed. Again, viruses always mutate, they always will. As with all viruses, continued mutation is a near constant process. The former Omicron BA.1 is now quickly being replaced by Omicron BA.2 subvariant, and it now accounts for 55% of new variants circulating around the nation as of Saturday, March 25th. It is particularly dominant now in the Northeast, according to the Massachusetts Department of Health and hospital reporting data. COVID-19 cases have been on a slow rise in both Asia and Europe, and with the new variant in the Northeast as well. Please also remember it is pollen season, and it will not be uncommon to see people sneezing and coughing due to seasonal allergies, which could easily be misinterpreted as a new case of COVID. Please exercise caution, and please do not jump to conclusions when you see somebody coughing and sneezing. It very easily could be just seasonal allergies. The Town of Winchendon Board of Health recommends becoming vaccinated if healthy enough to do so. Please have that conversation with your doctor or primary health care physician, and not with people on social media with no medical training. So again, it's allergy season. You're going to see people coughing and sneezing all over the place. Please don't panic and just think it's COVID, because the numbers are much, much lower than they previously were. It's not to say it couldn't be, but the odds are right now it's allergies. So next on the agenda, we have the meeting minutes. And that would be the minutes for the March meeting, which our recording secretary, Deborah, got out to us actually extremely quickly this time, which was very awesome. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
I have.
They're usually pretty good.
What was that, sir?
I said, I glanced through them, they're usually pretty good.
Yep. You feeling, Stina?
Yes, I have reviewed them, and they all look correct.
Okay. And I read them too at home on the computer. They looked good. So with that, would anybody like to make a motion to address the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our Board of Health meeting on March 7th, 2022, as presented.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made by member Tina Santos and seconded by member Ed Bond. With that, any other discussion? Hearing none, vote to approve the minutes. Member Tina Santos.
Aye.
Member Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. Up next, Tina, we will turn it over to you for our round of permits.
We have about 6 permits tonight, 5 establishments. The first one is for a food service permit, permit number 2210. This is for the American Legion. We discussed this at our March meeting. And there was no notes or violations. From what I understand, we had to put it on hold at our last meeting
Just to be safe.
discussion, yes, for a possible conflict of interest, which was placed.
I'm a member, so I'll probably have to, I don't know if we could let people vote on it.
Well, I had called the state ethics, and they had told me that I was not, that I needed to put in a disclosure form or a statement.
At the clerk's
Because I
office?
belong to the Women's Auxiliary of the
Yep.
Legion.
Was that at the town clerk's office, Tina?
Yes.
Nice.
I got it off of the Massachusetts website, but then I did bring it in completed to the town clerk,
I
so
would table this then.
should we table it again?
I would table it again until it was able to either do the,
To have a
Do the-
quorum to
yeah.
be able to approve it.
either put in
Ed, be able to put
the
in
form with the
disclosure
town
form.
clerk, or have Lionel here to be the third person,
Okay.
just to be safe.
I can send you the link, Ed, if you'd like, to where the form is online,
Okay.
if you'd like. Just have to print it and
So we'll
fill it
have
out
to
to your
table it
best
till
knowledge.
next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
we are tabling it. So, James, they'll still be able to operate while we table in the meantime with no problem, correct?
Correct, they passed their inspection and have all their paperwork in, it's just a procedural
I just want to make sure
thing.
we're not holding them back or harming them in any way,
No, it's just
especially
a
being the American
procedural thing
Legion.
on our end. They have had all their paperwork in and passed their inspections, so they're good to
I
operate.
just want to make sure we're not harming them being a place where it's especially an establishment where there's service, you know, I want to make sure they're good. Thank you.
absolutely. The next two are for the same establishment, but they are a temporary food permit for 2 separate days. The first one is 2215 permit number for Uncle Joey's Cannoli. This is a temporary food service permit that was paid, $25 fee was paid, and the second temporary food service for Uncle Joey's Cannoli would be permit 2216. There was no notes or violations, and the dates were one on June 18th, 22, for the YMCA, and the second date would be for October 22nd, 22, for the Fall Festival.
I'll make a motion to approve permit number 2215 and permit number 2216. What was that, Uncle Joey's?
Uncle Joey's Cannoli.
And what was that first permit for on the 18th, Tina? What was that event? I know this,
There's two dates, so June 18th
yeah,
for YMCA, I assume the summer solstice, correct, Jim?
I would think so.
I got the second one was a fall
And the second
festival. I
one was
missed
for
you
the
on the,
Fall Festival on October 22nd.
I missed the first one, thank you.
Okay. I'd like,
So I will second that motion to approve the permits made by Ed. Any discussion? Hearing none, motion to approve those 2 permits for Uncle Joey's Cannoli. No further discussion. Ms. Santos?
aye.
Ed Bond?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
So when I pass this down, just keep in mind there is 2. One is crisscross, so you need to sign both.
Mm-hmm.
Next food permit is for a retail food permit, permit number 2217. And this is for One Stop Plaza on Main Street in Winchendon. There was no notes or violation, and the $100 food permit was paid.
Just 1 second, please. Any questions or discussions on those, Ed?
Nope.
Okay, I will second the motion on that, if there is a first, because I haven't heard one yet.
I'll make a motion to approve permit number 2217, One Stop Plaza.
Okay, and I will second that motion with no discussion on One Stop Plaza. Member Tina Santos.
Aye.
Member Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Okay, next up, permit number 2218 for Hometown Cafe on Central Street in Winchendon. The $100 food permit fee was paid, and there was no notes or violations.
I'll make a motion to approve Hometown Cafe permit number 2218.
A second?
Motion was no discussion. Okay, motion was made by Ed Bond and seconded by member Tina Santos to approve permit number 2218, Hometown Cafe. With that, we'll take a vote. Member Tina Santos.
Aye.
Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
And last but not least, permit number 2219 for C&S Pizza. The $100 food service fee was paid for $100, and there was no notes and no violations.
I'll make a motion to approve CNS Pizza's permit number 2219.
Second?
Motion was made by member Ed Bond and seconded by member Tina Santos to approve food permit number 2219, C&S Pizza. Any discussion? Hearing none. Member Tina Santos.
Aye.
Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you.
All right. Those were the only food permits we had. We do have an invoice this evening in the amount of $75. And this is for our Title V System Inspector License Renewal to be payable to Mr. James Hebert.
Okay.
What, let me see it.
Absolutely.
Annual thing, Jim?
Every
Renewal.
3 years, I believe that.
3
was.
years, okay.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to pay the bill of $75 for System Inspector License Renewal.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
Pay the bill.
Hearing none. Member Tina Santos.
Aye.
Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
There is no other invoices for this evening.
I got a bill down here that we'll get next, once we sign. So we have from Jim, what's this, Jim? Your AT&T phone bill?
Yep, that's the one the chair can sign. The board had voted on that.
So just so we know, yeah, we have a regular AT&T phone bill for the health agent reimbursement, $63.64. This is your monthly bill, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. We don't need a vote, but since we have it here, anybody want to make a motion to pay Jimmy's bill? So he doesn't get stuck with it?
I'd like to make a motion to pay Jim Aber for the reimbursement or the AT&T bill for $63.64.
Actually, this just goes right to the AT&T. It doesn't.
Okay, directly to AT&T's.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Tina Santos.
Aye.
Ed Bond.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it only requires a chair's signature on this one, so we'll just kick it down. Okay, we're finally there. Update Earth Day discussion. We'll let either one of you begin with it, and we have somebody in the audience who I'm sure always helps out, would like to talk about it too at some point. So,
Looking
Day.
at my notes, I don't have an exact date, but I know we did it Earth Day last year around mid-May.
yep,
We kind of pushed it out a little bit further than the April dates that we usually do, just because of weather. A lot of the times, April tends to be cold and rainy, so we don't necessarily have a rain date, and/or we have better weather. Last year, we had a much better turnout. We were able to fill the full dumpster that day, so I'd like to make a motion, I guess, or to discuss about scheduling Earth Day
in May.
in May sometime,
Yeah, we,
today.
last year, even with COVID, we had, I want to say, the sign-in sheet, we had 39 people, which is probably 20 people more than I expected, again, because it was COVID. And holding off till May, I agree, was the better thing to do last year, because as the months got warmer, the numbers did track down. People started feeling more secure about coming out. People who came actually commented last year, Tina, that they felt more secure about coming out because the numbers had tracked lower. And again, right now, being already at 1.7% positivity in town, we're definitely lower than we were at this same time last year, so that's very welcome also. You are right, April tends to be cold, dreary, damp, and rainy, because if we want to go back to April of 19, yeah, Jim, you remember, we had rain,
Very cold.
we had snow, and we had sleet all in the same day at Earth Day in 19.
Correct.
We had people who were soaking wet and shivering. They basically were asking why they came. It wasn't a good combination for some folks. But we were very thankful they did come.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we didn't have Earth Day in 2020 for obvious reasons. And then in 2021, we, as you said, held it in May, and that worked out a little better.
I would like to note too, just if I could, once we set a date, I was, Lickety Splits, Gabby Lee, her and her father, Mike Lee, owns Lickety Splits, and they reached out to me stating that they would like to offer gift certificates again this year for those who participate. So once we have a date, I can relay the information.
Yeah,
Or pick up if we need to.
I sent Gabby a selfie of me stuffing my face with a cheeseburger down there, and she had mentioned it too, and I was like, bonus. I'm like, cheeseburger and a promise for Earth Day. I'm like, yay, that was a good thing. Looking at the calendar, so the Saturdays in May are 7, 14, 21, and 28. Before we go any further, I see Mr. Lucier's in the audience, and he always helps out a lot with Earth Day. Rick, would you like to come up and talk to the board about anything? You made the effort to show up. Come on up. You always help out.
We appreciate your efforts.
Absolutely.
Well, usually what I do is I go get the contributions, so it doesn't look like,
Well, you do, and you're helpful with it, because
Yeah.
with us, it'd be a legal conflict of interest if
Right.
we collect contributions,
I go
because
to-
when we sign permits, it could have the misperception of we're trying to muscle people, which we wouldn't do, but that perception, because what happened was, Rick, a couple of years ago, I had contacted the State Ethics Commission to ask if we could, and they looked at me and they went, no. And that's when our good man, Mr. Lionel Cloutier, who's not here this evening because he's not feeling well, reached out to you.
Yeah.
And Lionel goes, you mind if I reach out to Rick? And I go, no, I'm sure he'll do a great job with it, and you have ever since.
oh, they'll expect me to be coming in soon. Bell Tate's, McDonald's, Gourmet Donuts, Cumberland's, they give us, and then I think there's one other. But,
Yeah.
It was Gabby's Pizza, but last year we couldn't have food.
Because, of course, and this year,
So I don't know where that stands this year.
Yeah, and we're
Right.
gonna dump that in your lap. I think this year we can have food because the restrictions are removed, correct?
We can, but we're still gonna follow, obviously,
Serve
no
safe
bare hand
restrictions.
contact and.
So how could we go about doing this? Having separate tables with a person designated with gloves on for? How could we go about doing this
Or
potentially?
having things prepackaged separately, that type of thing, as long as we have.
So goods, Jimmy, that are hot, say like, we're obviously gonna be out doing our thing.
There's usually one person, like Lionel and Rick, or
Yeah.
somebody at the actual dumpster.
Yeah.
If one of us goes out with our trucks, because we have the
Because like
the
in
vehicles and
years
such.
past, Ricky was actually out with his grandson who was working credits for Athol High School, if I remember right at the
He was
time.
doing
See,
his
I
community
remember.
service For graduation.
So I can bring some gloves and some hand sanitizer if needed, and,
Yeah.
if one
And
person.
paper
can-
plates and stuff, so could we have somebody who's designated to hand out these things, Jim? I mean, what's proper protocol as the health agent?
Obviously, somebody has to be separate over
Being
there,
that
and
you're-
not dealing with the public and everything else in the.
Being that you're the
inside.
registered sanitarian here, so,
Yeah, we'll come up with a
Plan of
plan of
attack.
action on that.
it'd be nice that if these businesses are willing to offer us something to say thank you, it'd be nice to actually be able to give it to these people to convey that thank you from these
And
businesses.
there's always the thing with the gift certificates too, they can always go to the business and.
Yeah.
Gift certificate, have them go to the business.
I mean, like even with the donuts, if we had a person with gloves, and like have somebody who, even if they wanted to wear a mask, somebody who could hand out, donuts with gloves on in a napkin or something, or, what's your feelings on that?
As we're talking about it, I'm kind of leaning more towards the gift certificates. It'll depend on what we have for resources for volunteers and that kind of
Be-
thing, so.
So what is state guidelines right now? Because there's people holding activities all over the place. That's why I'm asking.
All the governor's orders have been rescinded with the exception of the mass and public transportation and healthcare settings and, communal living situations, so. Those are the only ones that are currently active.
Okay, so this isn't like congregate housing or anything then? So basically, it's up to the will and pleasure of the board and just obviously some common sense guidelines.
Following regular serve safe.
So to hand out food, do we need somebody who is Serve Safe certified to hand out food
It's
there for an event
recommended,
like
yeah.
this?
Yeah, and like I said,
I wanna make sure we're by
I'm
the
leaning more
book.
towards the gift certificate thing right now.
Yeah. So what if we could get somebody, I mean, Tina knows a lot of people, what if we could get somebody who was Serve Safe certified to potentially hand out pizza, who's Serve Safe certified or something like that, Because they're not gonna give us, a lot of these pizza places don't give single slices. Cumbies does, they sell by the slice, but I'm not so sure Cumbies wants to process, 50 or 60 single slice.
No, Gabby's gives you just the large pizza,
Yeah.
party pizzas, and, if you have one person breaking it up and,
Well,
putting it on a plate and then separating the plates, you should be
Yeah.
fine.
We could do that. I could bring a table if need be, and we
We
could
can,
put
we
it
can
on
see
a.
what the businesses want to offer.
Yeah,
and go-
yeah.
And we'll go from there, we'll make a.
Yeah,
plan.
I just don't see Bill at Cumbies, God bless him, wanting to do 50 or 60 slices, gift
Cumbies
card.
only gives us drinks, they give us, they just have you go in,
Yep.
get a drink, and they just take care of it, nothing's handed or,
And that was another one, Rick, previously with Cumbies, was during part of the former COVID restrictions, remember, Jimmy, the concessions for getting your own self-beverage was even shut down for a while, where they had to pour your coffee, your hot chocolate, or your Slurpee, which was another issue we had for a while.
see, McDonald's is under new ownership now, so I don't know how they will feel. They usually will give us, gift certificates to a free sandwich or a free ice
Ice
cream,
cream.
and then we just hand those out.
I did, Rick, just recently talk, Mr. Lucier, to the previous owners, and they said that when they sold to these new owners under this new management group out of Spencer, Mass., they did say that the new ownership was interested in supporting many of their previous causes. So I would encourage you to reach out to them. They did tell me
You
that.
guys typically generate a letter, which I hand to them,
Yep,
and that usually clarifies everything right for the business. Beltates is probably wondering where I am yet, but that's okay.
A little
Very
behind the
generous.
schedule.
I was here on a different note, though. I
Okay.
wanted to find out who monitors things like, this weekend they're having an Easter egg hunt at Ingleside for all the kids and stuff. Who determines how many porta potties? Because they only have one porta potty up there, and if they get an influx of kids and adults, I don't think that porta potty is enough to handle all the people. Shouldn't they have another one? And if they do have one, who's going to monitor it, that it's being cleaned and taken care of? Because, as you know, the highest influx is with the youngest kids. So what precautions have they
And
made?
that's this weekend, Mr. Lucier?
Yeah, the Easter egg hunt.
What day is that,
This is up-
Saturday or Sunday?
This is Saturday
Saturday
for,
at
at Ingleside or the Winchendon Community Park. Starts at 10 o'clock.
I would defer that to the health agent, absolutely.
And aren't you on the rec commission?
I used to be the chair, but no longer. I had to step down for other reasons.
Yeah,
but-
they would be the ones, well, there's got to be a correlation between number of people and number of parties.
Yeah, there's no set regulations on that. There are some recommendations that some other groups have come up with, and it all depends on what you're expecting for numbers. And breaking
And
that
if
down.
it's a good day, they'll
so.
multiply, but they
If
may
it's a
have
bad
rain, so,
day,
but they have a rain
yeah.
date of the following week, 16th.
So it's all sort of an estimation of how many people you think you're gonna be there, and as for maintenance and everything, that's taken care of by the company. And again, that's something that has to be worked out with how much you estimate it's gonna be used.
Jim, where did they get a permit for this?
Upstairs.
For- Well, they can come into the town hall and get a permit for a,
For the event?
well, depending on the event, but if you're just talking about the portable restrooms, the chemical toilets, and, at that point, you have to say how many people you think are gonna, be at your event and come up with some kind of
So
reasonable
who did they go to
situation.
a permit for, I guess, is what I'm asking.
From what if I may, I guess, being on the Recreation Commission, back in the past, because it's like a town board or town group, I don't believe they necessarily apply for a
They don't need an event permit?
like an event permit.
Need an event permit, they just need something
I
from Linda to tell them how many people, so if they need
Right, they
another porta
normally-
potty, they get it, and the town
Okay.
typically pays for it.
And now that I've left, it's kind of managed and kind of monitored differently. I guess the Recreation Commission, as well as the
Programming committee.
the Winchendon Community Park, they're kind of co-partnering together. Tiffany Newton is she's in charge of the activities for the community park, and she's also on like the Recreation Commission, so they have monthly meetings and such to kind of discuss the events and such, but from what I understand, the structure of it has kind of changed, so.
So they didn't have to go in front of the Board of Selectmen or anything for that,
They
then?
had to get to
They
do
did.
the
Event.
date, to have
Yeah.
those dates set.
Because it's town property?
Yeah, they had to go
Right, yeah, they go
the
before the
selectmen.
town,
Okay.
absolutely, but then,
They had to get selectmen approval for the events.
Okay. I mean, it does seem like one porta potty is,
generally, I thought they have a handicap one there as well as a
It's not there
regular.
anymore, it's just a regular one.
Did they remove it? Okay. I
Yeah.
know it was in there in the past. It may very well, I mean, I know they're gonna be doing like monthly events starting like probably May, June, like they usually do family events once a month. It may
Depends on how
very
they
well
run
be,
I mean, the irony is that quite possibly, as irony as this sounds, may not fall under a Board of Health function.
Well, I have seen that there was some event coming up there. I think in July and August, they may have an additional 3 porta potties up there. So, but I'm not sure if that's going to be a month-long thing or just for events.
They're probably gonna have to get additional porta potties for the construction guys that are gonna be out there too.
for the amphitheater. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
I
really-
would say sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry too. I didn't, maybe we kind of stepped on each other. My
Stop.
apologies.
Started talking
I
together.
really don't really know what to tell you on this one. I mean, I would defer to the knowledge of the health agent on this, because honest to God, I'm not sure if that really falls under Board of Health purview. I wish I could help you with that. I would have to defer to him being a registered sanitarian. That's
In order to
beyond.
get the porta potty, I believe they go through the
Yeah, yeah,
the
they
health
can,
agent, but
they
Yeah.
come to me and we sign it, but,
Sure.
I
That's
can
for
check
maintenance and such.
downstairs for you and see what the dates are that those extra 3 are gonna show up. I know it's not gonna be this month.
No.
But, I think once they start having their, July and August, events, there's gonna be extra, like I said, at least 3 extra there.
Might have a tough time with that place all torn up, whether they can have any events.
From what I understand, the egg hunt is just about less than maybe an hour.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna have maybe a small amount of activities after, or prizes, et cetera. So it really won't last, more than a few hours.
I think it's 10 to 2.
I would honestly, had that just been me, I would have erred on the side of caution and gone with 2, because what if 2 people really had to go at the same time? That's just me thinking out loud, I would have gone with 2 myself, but,
Well, you got mothers
Not re-
helping little kids.
yeah, I'm really not, like I said, we may not have dominion over something like this. Now, say the event takes place and they did have an unforeseen issue, then that'd be something that we could look back on, but as of right now, I really don't think there's a whole lot we have.
Like I said, there's no actual regulations on how many you have to have.
Exactly, that's why I said I would refer to you as a registered sanitarian on that. Sorry, Rick.
No, just bring
I
it
hope
up.
that
I'm
helps.
just
I will,
kind of caution.
yeah, I will
Absolutely.
make
No,
sure
I
I get you
appreciate-
that letter very soon, though.
Yeah.
I will absolutely, I promise you, I'll get you the letter typed up very soon for Earth Day.
That's
We'll,
fine.
we'll get a day set up, and what I'll do is, I'll make sure I get it to Lionel, because I know Lionel sees you and bumps into you, and I'll get it to Lionel, and Lionel will get it to you. I'll bring it to his house.
Yep, no problem.
And we'll get you that letter real soon to solicit donations, and we thank you for all your help.
No problem.
Are we gonna
Sir.
vote on a date today?
Yes, absolutely, we'll get it nailed down today, yes. So again, for Earth Day on the calendar, we have Saturday, September 7th of May, 14th, 21, and 28. 28 seems a little too far out there, because at that point, you're almost in June.
That's Memorial Day weekend. You won't find anybody probably here.
They won't show up, good point.
No.
So I'm kind of thinking, Tina, Eddie, I was thinking maybe either the 7th or 14th. What's your feelings about that? Because I'm
From what I
thinking the
understand, we
21's a
did-
little far out there.
Last year, I believe we did mid-May, around the
think
15th,
so, right
maybe
around the
even
middle
the
of the month.
18th, if I remember, 17th. That's the date that's kind of coming to mind, but I don't have the exact date.
So the
I'm
14th
thinking-
would be mid-May, Saturday,
Yeah, I think that would
14th, yeah.
probably-
Yeah,
Because Sunday's a family day, and for a lot of folks, church and errands and whatnot, so. Any feelings about Saturday the 14th, folks,
Sounds good to me.
of May?
Might
Be a
wanna-
little warmer out, your biggest opponent will be the mayflies.
you
but
might
I'd
wanna
rather
check
deal
on
with that.
conflicts.
I'd rather deal with the mayflies than freezing cold, snow, sleet, and rain.
You got some other events going on, like Taste of Winchington and other things. You might want to check into those,
Right.
because they will be over here.
So do we have any knowledge of what those dates are? I know they
We can-
did discuss those recently at the Board of Selectmen meeting, but off the
Yeah.
top of my head, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I
what the
don't know
dates
if those were the 7th or the 14th or the 21st.
Yeah, the Winchton School's also doing something like that they do where they make food and they use the libraries.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, they do.
Yeah, you don't want to have them having food and you have a dumpster there.
No, it's a
That'll
good
take
point.
care of their appetites real quick.
It's a good point. Jim, if we look into this further, and get to find out what other activities are going on in town in the month of May that could potentially cause conflicting dates, do we have to hold a meeting as a board to set Earth Day? I mean,
No.
that's
There's no-
why I want to ask, if we can just, you as the health agent have the legal right to exceed a quorum in your lawful contact to board members, whereas we do not. So that's why I'm wondering if we you could get back to us as the health agent.
Yeah, we can look into seeing if one of those Saturdays are,
If-
free of any,
If I may, I was just looking on Hill Winchendon site. They have the Taste of Winchendon this year set for May 14th from 12 to 4 p.m. So maybe,
14th's out.
and they'll be at the library lawn, and there'll be a lot
We
of
don't want to have a
cars and
smelly
such,
dumpster
so-
next to that, do we?
No.
So,
Perhaps maybe we could do the
7th?
7th.
I think that sounds
Yep.
much more appealing at this point.
That works for me.
And my phone has been lighting up with somebody trying to message me, so whoever is messaging me, I humbly apologize for not answering my phone. I humbly apologize. So it looks like the 7th. Eddie, how you feeling, brother?
Good.
Okay.
I was gonna say, somebody last weekend did Glen Allen Street, because I let them use my dumpster to put all the trash they collected. And I'm there, geez, what'd they do?
Which end of Glen Allen Street?
I know where they were coming from the cemetery way. Two girls, and I said, what did I miss Earth Day?
Well, I think,
And then they were coming back up, and I said, they were carrying bags of trash. I said, hey, you can just throw that in my dumpster right there if you want.
Well, that was nice of you. We'll get into, that's a
nice.
whole nother discussion we're gonna get into soon on the next agenda about cleaning up and what we all did this past weekend and stuff too. So, all right, so it looks like May 7th. So since we're here, we'll make it a vote. If there's any further discussion, we will, unless there's any further discussion, would people like to make a vote on this? Somebody like to make a motion for May 7th for Earth Day?
I'd like to make a motion to set Saturday, May 7th, 2022 for the townwide Earth Day.
Beginning at 8 a.m., Jimmy, is that the norm?
I believe we usually go, 8 to
8
1?
to-
8 to 1 or 8 to 12.
8 to
something.
12.
Not 8 to 2?
1. 8 to 2, actually.
Yeah, I
That
think it was
sounds
2
about right.
last year, wasn't it? I know I normally hang around sometimes 3 to 4 because we always get stragglers anyway.
Right.
I will second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Ms. Tina Santos and seconded by Member 8 Bond for Earth Day for Saturday, May 7th, during the hours of 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Member Tina Santos.
Aye.
Member Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We have Earth Day, May 7th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mr. Lucio, we will get you that letter soon. You have my word.
I'll
As
see
in-
about, I'll get in touch with the Ingleside Committee about borrowing one of their tables again, because I'll typically grab a picnic table and bring it
Yes.
down.
I will get you that letter to Mr. Cloutier no later than Wednesday,
All right,
a
that's
couple
fine.
days from now. You have my word.
See you all with the gloves.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your help on that. Appreciate it. Okay, well, it's good that we got Earth Day nailed down.
Absolutely.
Okay, new business. So, for anybody watching the meeting, we did a whole lot of cleaning up. We essentially started Earth Day early.
Sure did.
First of all, I want to extend a thank you to somebody in town who every year does an awful lot of help, especially with Tannery Hill. We have this wonderful young gentleman who's like 81 years young by the name of Henry Finch. For anybody in town listening, if you ever see this guy named Henry Finch, longtime resident, be going up and down Tannery Hill, little blue Ford pickup you'll see halfway parked up the hill on the side,
Seen him the other
little
day.
blue Ford Ranger. This gentleman's in his early 80s, and I just want to give him another shout out. He's been honored, I believe, by the selectmen years ago, and he continues to give back. Henry, I'm going to put it out there, makes a lot of 20-year-olds look sad. He's 81. He's been in the newspaper before, years ago. He continues to give back. He continues to pick up. You'll see him walking around with the tongs, picking up, loading bags with a reflective vest on. And before we talk about what we've been doing, shout out has to go to Henry Finch first before we talk about anything us or anybody else is doing around this town, because at 81 years old, Henry Finch, I feel he's got pole position. He deserves first place.
Absolutely. I actually drove by him the other day. He was out there, and I kind of beeped and put down my window and said thanks, so
Nice.
very, very nice.
I've seen him going all the way down to the landfill.
Yep, he has. He's done River Street, he's done Tannery Hill, River Street. He's helped out with other parts of town. He continues to give back in his 80s. When I ran into him a couple years ago, I asked him quite simply what his motivation was, and Henry looked at me and he said, I just can't stand looking at how many people throw things out their window. I just can't stand looking at it. He goes, I can't drive by and not do something. And I told him I totally understood that path of logic, and I made sure I shook his hand. So again, just before we go any further, a thank you to people like Henry Finch. He's not the only one in town, but he's quite possibly the oldest one doing it, and we want to make sure we thank Henry again. So with that,
I have a question.
yes, go ahead.
I wonder, Jim, I know the town has a work-off program for taxes.
Mhm.
I wonder if they could get people to work on like Earth Day, the elderly, that, I think it's a certain age requirement, where they could come in and do that, work Earth Day, helping up, and get it taken off as their taxes. You'd be able to talk to the town manager.
Yeah, we'd
ask
have
him
to talk to the town manager to see if that would be eligible, but
that. That would get a lot of people in here for Earth Day.
In that age group,
Yeah,
yeah,
yep.
as it is senior property tax work-off.
It'd be a few hours, but anything helps.
Could potentially help with some turnout. I mean, it's up to obviously the purview of the town manager to approve it, but, or potentially could be also up to the Board of Selectmen too. I don't want to speak for them. That's not our place to speak for the appropriate parties, but it's worth a question.
I think that's a great idea, and it was actually mentioned up on social media at one point about a kind of program or like a cleanup task force being put in town. I brought it up to the town manager and Brian Croto, our DPW, letting him know about a lot of our trash that's on certain roads and that we found throughout the last few weeks, but I have mentioned it to him, and he's aware of, all the,
Some roads are much worse than others.
absolutely. So I think it's something to look into.
Maybe you could ask the big TM,
yep,
His
we can
thoughts
see
are
what
about that.
his thoughts are on that.
It's got potential. Good question, Eddie. So, we went out last weekend, not this weekend, but the one before it. Tina Santos worked on several streets in the Franklin Street area, and I also want to give a thank you to Sharon La Rochelle and Glenn La Rochelle, because they worked extremely hard in the Franklin Street area, Tri-Street area also. And I worked the Town Farm Road area and Mill Glen Road area. And we were all doing load after load. It seemed like it was never ending.
Yeah.
And Tina Santos and Sharon and Glenn La Rochelle probably set the town, if there is a town record, you all probably set one for how many whiskey nips you could pick up in one day, let alone 2 days. And I came by to see how you were all doing. And it was bag after bag after bag. And usually where it's the Fireball whiskey nips with the red caps. The weekend before last, the three of you, Sharon, Glenn, and yourself, kept picking up the grape whiskey nips.
Dr. McKillicuddy's
Yep.
grape whiskey, or natural
And
grape, and bags of them.
could not believe how many whiskey nips, the amount of whiskey nips that were on the ground in the Franklin Street area. The amount of whiskey nips on the ground in the Franklin Street area were absolutely beyond mind-boggling. I've researched this legally. there are several towns around the Commonwealth, more so in eastern Mass, who have also had this problem residentially with whiskey nips on the ground. And they have actually passed bylaws in their town where they have outlawed the sale of nips in their businesses with bylaws they've passed because of the thousands of nips on the ground. I had a local resident tell me this weekend that they spoke to a local business, and that a local business in town told this local resident this weekend, who conveyed it to me, that the business owner told them people like them because they can just chuck them, especially if they know law enforcement's coming, and say, that's not mine, it was already there. Wow. So we are going to be looking into some options in the future. And quite honestly, if it upsets people, I'm sorry, but we have to look into the welfare of the good of our town and these thousands and thousands of whiskey nips that we find. I can't tell you how many Fireball nips I continue to pick up off the bike path or around the ramp bordering the YMCA track and field along the fence, which is town-owned property that leads to the bike path. How many I have seen on the streets not far from the Railroad Street package store leading to the Franklin Street area around the corner. How many have been across the street from Williams Package Store in that area. We continue to see nips just everywhere all over town.
Well, if I may, I had printed some pictures of the trash and/or, I guess you would say, recycling, where it was lots of cans, lots of bottles, lots of nips, lots of plastic cups, and/or trash. That was along Franklin Street that we picked up on April 1st. A lot of it was on the left side, right before, or across from, I should say, Reedy Drive entrance, as well as there's a picture there that has a few mattresses, or a mattress and a
The abandoned property area.
over up at the abandoned property, which is a repeat
The abandoned property.
location that
The one that
seems
shows
to
up as
have,
Gary Baytor on the town assessor's database, that one?
not the fenced-in area, but the abandoned mill building. If you're going down Franklin Street,
Yep.
it's right there on the right.
Okay,
So the one that has the X, it's condemned building. It's a brick building, and in the back of it, a lot of people have been disposing of mattresses, couches. We had 2 bags of clothes that I found there last weekend, as well as like an entertainment center. There's also another area in town. I go for a walk around my neighborhood. I found on Spruce Street and/or Mill Street, there is an area that has a lot of nips, bottles, and such around the fire department, fire hydrant over at 123 Spruce Street. They have bags of trash that has been sitting since I took pictures of them in January and notified Mr. Hebert. It's out in front of their garage, on their back deck, in their backyard. I picked up all of the trash that was around the fire hydrant area, as well as the backwoods that was over by Winchendon Furniture in January. And here's pictures in March with the same bags and/or trash and more trash around the fire hydrant, and/or woods. So I also printed out, went around the corner to Mill Street and Spruce. There's somebody's dumpster that has is overflowing quite frequently and has trash all over the floor or the ground as well as in the woods. So there is a lot of trash, a lot of problems with litter in town. Specifically, those areas that I mentioned that I've seen myself. Jim, I know I had mentioned to you about the Spruce Street property back in January. Do you know if a letter was sent out to them?
No, I don't believe so. I think with that one, it seemed like a lot of it was on the town property. I was going to go to the house and speak with the people, but I wasn't able to get contact, so I will go back and knock on the door again.
Yeah, it's in their back deck as well as the yard. And it seems that, there's critters that kind of have been opening up the bags, and with the wind, they kind of blow in the back through into the woods, which is, if you look at the Winchendon Furniture back lot, it's all,
Yeah, it looks like the wind comes right down that street there and
absolutely,
takes it right out through behind the Winchendon Furniture Place.
absolutely, and across the street in the pond. So I guess my question is, do we have a town bylaw that we can fine the properties that are, and/or people that are disposing the trash or collecting the trash on, that aren't doing their due diligence by throwing it away, or disposing it properly, and/or if dumpsters are overflowing and flowing, blowing all over the place with litter, that they're not taken care of. I mean, you clearly see the picture of the dumpster. There's, trash all around it, as well as if you look across the street, there's a lot in the woods that have blown over, so.
I can tell you as a landlord, I check on mine every week. And it's like, I actually have really good tenants, so
Yeah.
I have no complaints from mine.
Jim, you spoke earlier to me about a sanitary code at this time. First, please elaborate on that.
The state sanitary code makes the property owner responsible for keeping their properties up.
Hmm.
So they are the ones who usually get the letters on the property.
And under that sanitary code, how long do they have to respond or take action?
It depends on the violation, how serious it is.
The type of violation.
Usually we give them a week or two, depending on if it's a dumpster. Sometimes it's on a weekly pickup.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's bi-weekly. If it becomes a problem, then we tell them, instead of bi-weekly, maybe you should either get a bigger container
Yeah.
or do a weekly pickup. But again, depends on the,
Because you and I have worked on that with a couple of houses together where we had them get bigger dumpsters by telling them, we can't tell you what to do, we just tell you you have to do it. And then they logically go to a bigger can. But where Tina's showing us these pictures, I mean, when there's trash all over the ground around these cans as an example,
yeah.
clearly the landlords are not doing their job.
Yeah, you can't really say that, because a lot of times what I hear is the tenants will allow their friends, family, whatever, to come in, or not even tenants, maybe just off the street. Somebody will come and dump stuff in the dumpsters.
Okay, but
So-
ultimately, it's still the landlord's responsibility to
It
manage
is,
their
that's what I tell
property,
them.
though.
It's obviously their responsibility.
Well, that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's the owner's responsibility to police their own property. That's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm going. So, we want to build an olive branch and reach out to them. But as we're going to talk about this evening, we have some of these owners where we've reached out to them countless times and the problems still continue. And I think what Tina's getting at here with all these pictures she's providing is that, we have a culture around this town where we're not toy town, we're trash town. And yeah, I'm not popular for saying this, But you know what? A lot of times, the unpopular conversations are the conversations that start facilitating positive change. And it's not meant to be sarcastic or argumentative. It's that we have a culture that we need to address in this town. And it's long ongoing, sadly. There are parts of this town that are very clean, and there are parts of this town that sadly are not. And yes, you do have this in a lot of different communities. It's not just us. We're not just singling out Toy Town, but we do have some serious problems we need to address here. Under Massachusetts general laws, we know there's a couple chapters and verses where boards of health have the right to make any reasonable regulations deemed necessary. And where state sanitation code may not provide us all the options needed, one of our future options potentially may be to pass a new regulation in town as a Board of Health. We do have that legal right. I have contacted other boards of health and asked them, and they have found in other towns that they do try to go by the state sanitary code, which you're totally referring to, and that is always their automatic deferral, absolutely. But where the state sanitary code hasn't worked, they have looked into creating other options under the fact that boards of health have the right to pass any bylaws or regulations deemed necessary. And right now, our problem in town is sadly, it's getting worse. It's sadly not getting better. And one Earth Day a year doesn't help out with the other 364 days a year, sadly. I mean, when I do one trip down Town Farm Road and I fill the bed of my pickup truck, and you and the La Rochelles do one day in the Franklin Street area and pick up over 1,500 nips.
We did 2 full 33-gallon trash barrels full of recycles,
Yep.
which mostly the beer cans, bottles, plastic cups, nips, etc. Then we had 2 to 3 bags, contractor bags full that weekend of trash.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently went out again last Saturday to look at Franklin Street, and I did all inside the woods as well as a little bit farther up across from Reedy Drive. I filled up 2 33-gallon trash barrels full again.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And keeping in mind, a nip is only about this big, so to fill entire barrels is an awful lot to reach that cubic volume, even with air in between them.
I guess my concern or my trouble is that we do have the Earth Day, and we have, how many, 40-something participants. Not necessarily all those that participate. You know, I think Earth Day is just one day, but I myself go out for a walk and pick up trash if I see it and put it in a bag. But my problem is that there seems to be the same people that are picking up everyone else's trash, and then you go out a month or two later, even a week or two later, and it's full again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's frustrating,
You and I do it all year long.
absolutely.
And it's not a matter of trying to pat ourselves on the back, it's a matter of
Just keeping our town
there's
clean,
not enough help.
absolutely.
We need more help. And I went to the previous town manager, Keith Hickey, about this. I can't tell you how many times, and I basically got the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I know when I spoke to the town manager and sent an email out to Brian and him, he was very thankful for our efforts, as well as was going to talk to Brian about some possible solutions, just because, again, that vacant building is a repeat offender. Like,
Sure.
that is a location that always gets mattresses, et cetera.
Yep.
That area, Franklin Street, as well as Lincoln Ave Extension, Lincoln Street.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my neighborhood, so I
Well,
know
last
those
year,
specifically.
you and Eddie worked with me hard last year. The night before Earth Day last year and Earth Day, the 3 of us together, we pulled 8 pickup truckloads out of Lincoln Ave Extension. 8. the three of us pulled out. Yes, Ed?
I have a question, is this town
Make sure they can
property?
hear you on the mic.
Is this town property where the major spots are?
Oh, a lot of it's actually private property, the Franklin Street area. These are privately owned properties.
I was gonna say, if it was town property, I wonder if I don't put up the signs, like I know up at the old Lincoln Avenue, there's a sign up there that says $25,000 fine. I mean, even if we didn't have a fine, if we just put the signs up, it'd probably be enough to scare them and not do it.
I know the police have been successful on a few occasions of catching illegal dumping. They've actually found the people responsible.
Yeah, it helps when you have cameras up, but unfortunately, there's not enough money to put cameras everywhere, unfortunately. So the Franklin Street area, Tina and I were conversing. So the abandoned property that I had talked with you about, that's in tax title, or not tax title, correct me, under tax lien, there's a 1.02 acre lot owned by, says listed on the assessor's database by an individual by the name of Gary Bator. There is no way apparently of getting a hold of this individual legally and lawfully at this time. He, according to the tax assessor's office, has liens on the property for 2021 and 2022. And they have no way to get a hold of him at this time. He is delinquent in his taxes on the property. At this time, I have a host of pictures I have taken this past weekend. Ironically, I didn't even know you were in the area. We missed each other. There is over 50 cubic yards of shredded wood in a giant, massive pile, over 50 cubic yards.
Mattresses.
Oh, that too. I'm getting to that,
Yeah.
believe you me. There's over 50 cubic yards of shredded wood. There is a junk trailer full of junk, an old New England woodenware trailer full of junk clothing. There is roughly a dozen mattresses and/or box springs. There, along the falling down fence, is probably a good dozen or so, well, actually closer to 20 plastic rubbish cans from God knows where of all shapes and sizes, flip tops, non-flip tops, lids, non-lids, with rubbish in them. There are a couple of old flat screen, larger flat screen CRT style televisions. There's tires down the further end of the street heading back into the business area. And the list goes on and on. There's furniture, you name it. This area is beyond horrific. First of all, it's across from public housing. People living there should not have to be next to this. Our town should not even allow this to have to be next to public housing. There are a myriad of circumstances involving this. To be able to say, and I see we have our good man, Mr. Connor, here, and thank you for coming this evening, sir, it's not any one group that is depositing stuff here. It's like a lot of roads. You've got people going here in the middle of the night and doing illegal dumping. You've got area residents who probably are encouraging or encountering hard financial times and think, hey, maybe I can get rid of this in the middle of the night. It's a large conglomerate of problems that our town has that we have to work together with and build bridges here to address. We have an issue in this area where we can't get a hold of the owner. We have nobody to send a letter to. There's tax liens on the property. The town is nowhere near legally, according to the assessor's office, to be able to take the property back. It's a mess. So one option we do have with this unique thing coming up called Earth Day is to see if we can get some stuff out of there for Earth Day. At least the mattresses. I talked with Glenn and Sharon La Rochelle when they were helping out. And, maybe we could get the mattresses, the stuff closest to the road at least, get the mattresses, maybe get those TVs and tires, things like that. Because ultimately, let's be honest, when you have a delinquent human being owner who doesn't care, call it what it is. The town's going to be on the hook for this. That's what happens when people walk. They stick us as taxpayers to being on the hook. and it's a sad part of life. And we as a Board of Health realize it for what it is. The town's gonna be on the hook, the town is inevitably eventually gonna eat this. Because with delinquent owners who walk and they leave a public health issue such as this 1 acre lot, we own it. It may not be popular, but maybe on Earth Day, we can pick away at some of this stuff, you know?
My concern is if, even though it is, you know, the taxes have not been paid, it is private property.
It is.
So if we're removing items from a private property, us as town Board of Health members, that's probably not
That's why I'm gonna go to the
I would
town
not
manager and
recommend it.
ask him to ask legal what to do here.
right.
You're absolutely
Say we
correct. You're
definitely need
correct.
to make sure that
Yep.
we are not gonna get ourselves
No, you're correct.
injured or in trouble.
That's why I plan, no, you're absolutely right, and that's why I plan on
So-
approaching the town manager, because of exactly what you're bringing up,
I like the idea of cleaning it, but I
asking
think-
for some guidance on this. Obviously, Tina, we're not gonna remove a trailer. Like, along, you saw behind the trailer, there is a row of piles of clothing. These giant industrial-sized bundles, James, of like 20 8-foot bundles of clothing that are like 150 feet long, 160 feet long on the ground. I don't even want to know how many mice are living in these things. And this is across the street from public housing that this individual left there of his own free will and accord and never came back for. We have this across the street from public housing. Where's town liability on this? Okay? We have people living in these homes. And right across the street from them, as a municipality, for years, our town has been turning a blind eye to having a mouse and rat haven across the street from people living in this area. First of all, they shouldn't be subjected to this. From a public health standpoint, no human being should have that close to where they live. And this individual, Mr. Bator, has left that there. And I feel bad for the people in the area that have this close to their homes. I feel bad for the town that is now stuck in the middle of this situation. I have a host of pictures I've taken for the town manager I'm going to bring to him. Ms. Santos has brought up a great point about the legality of it, which, trust me, is totally on my mind, as it is with everything. We have a myriad of stuff here to consider. Mr. Connor, I see you came up here tonight. Thank you for coming. Would you like to come up and say hi and introduce yourself?
Well, I can, because I didn't really come for your meeting, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, no, that's fine. Being that you're in charge of Housing Authority, I just wanted to put it on the table. It's not a problem at all, my good man.
I would like to, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because it is a concern of the Housing Authority and the residents. You know, we built Reedy Drive in the 90s, and it was built as a neighborhood. It has elderly living in it, it has young family living in it, it has special needs living in the community. So it's its own neighborhood.
Sure.
And it is difficult because a lot of people come and go, and we move people in and we move people out. And, you know, it's concerning to listen where you talk about the NIPS. And I'm not saying they're coming from Reedy Drive. I'm not implying that at all. But it's our neighborhood. And the elderly Ipswich Drive is right in the back of it. So, you know, my staff and I, we work closely in we've always tried to keep an eye on that lot across the street. We've known what's been in there when it was running. Jim and I talked numerous times, and Jim worked very hard and other board members worked very hard to try to keep on Mr. Beta, to try to follow the rules that he was supposed to be following. But, you know, it's nice to see that we're not letting it go, you know, that there has to be an effort to clean it up. But I agree that there's a lot of liability in what's being discussed tonight.
Mr. Connor, the conversation has to begin somewhere, and it begins here tonight.
But at the end of the day, I would hope that maybe with Earth Day that I can reach out to my residents in that neighborhood, and maybe they could be a part of helping to clean that up. And I could, you know, get notices out to them and letting them know that on this day, there's going to be a community effort to try to clean up the neighborhood. And maybe the young children and the parents would like to do something like that, so.
May 7th, we voted on, sir, May 7th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Excellent.
And the dumpster will be right across from the town hall, as it is always on Pleasant Street. We usually leave the back door open so we can bring things in and just pack it from the nose to the tail.
I'll definitely
Rain
get
or,
that
rain or
information out to
shine,
them.
sir, rain or shine.
Well, I can state that there was a resident from Reedy Drive that actually did help. The little kids were out playing, and I was using my kind of little hand grabber, picker kind of thing in the woods, and they came over, "What you doing?" So, you know, "Can I help? There's a trash over here, there's a trash over here." So they got, you know.
Isn't that encouraging?
It was really cute. No, "Oh, there's another one. Can I use your grabber? Can I use your picker?" And so they helped kind of pick up some things, you know, with the permission of their grandfather and such, but it was really cute.
It's usually
see.
Tina, it's usually Tina, the littlest ones, who are the most positive.
Yep.
It's so encouraging, it really is. But as I told our town manager recently, as a matter of fact, he said he was gonna reach out to you. I don't know if he has yet or not. I talked to him last week, sir. He said he was gonna reach out to you. I said, "Justin, Mr. Salzback," I said, "there's a myriad of problems here." I go, "I'm not gonna lay everything like some want me to do at the feet of people living there. It's a combination of a myriad of problems that goes back decades. It's a culture that we have to change. It's a thought processes. It's education. There's a list of things that we all need to start coming together and build bridges here and work on together, and it's not gonna happen overnight. But the problem has been till now is that nobody's wanted to have this conversation. It's almost like it's been taboo. Like Lincoln Ave Extension has become in our town, "Oh, it's always been that way." Well, that's why it's that way. I'm not saying anything
Go
crazy
dumping
here.
Excuse me, me and Dave used to work down there.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
40 years I've known Dave.
Yeah, you know. I mean, last year, we pulled out, the three of us pulled out 8 pickup truckloads in my truck from Lincoln Ave Extension. And even though there's some stuff there, it still looks a lot better than it did last year, thank God, you know? But when we were up there, and I took all my pictures at Franklin Street the other day, and I saw how much stuff is across the street from those people living there. You actually had residents pulling in. I had my Board of Health ID on, I had my camera, and I had people looking at me like, "Somebody's there taking pictures?" They looked at me like I had 3 heads as they were pulling in and out of that driveway, which tells me there's a culture of ignoring that property. It stops here. I'm gonna be going to the town manager. I don't care if I've gotta go to the selectmen. It stops here. The town is going to address places like this. It's a mouse and rat infested, disease-laden haven. And we can no longer, as a town, say, "Well, it's always been that way." It has, but there's a lot of things that have always been that way, sir, but it doesn't make it right. And when it's near senior housing, when it's near public housing, when it's near the financially disenfranchised or financially less advantaged, who count on us to look out for them, at some point, we gotta step up. We gotta step up our game. We've gotta be better than that. And that's why I told the town manager, I wanted him to reach out to you and let you know we're gonna be getting this conversation. And we've all gotta start working together. And we're gonna talk to the town manager about the legality of maybe getting some of this stuff on Earth Day, and whether or not we can enter that property. I mean, the irony is everybody who's illegally dumped there hasn't given one hoot about entering that property, and the people who want to help clean it up have to give a hoot about whether or not they can enter that property. And that's the problem between people who don't care about the law and people who obey the law. And that's the irony we have here tonight, sir. So please, let your residents know, May 7th from 8 to 2, Saturday, we're gonna, clean up, and they can get rid of stuff at the dumpster over here on Pleasant Street across from the town hall on the library side. But please also, talk to your residents, even if you can send out a flyer. I have pictures of everything that is there as of this past weekend, actually Friday. I have pictures of everything that's there, and I'm gonna be going back and tracking it. I'm gonna try to keep an eye on what's there then, what will be there in the future, and we know it's coming from a myriad of sources. And I believe in building bridges and not laying blame at any one group, because when you do that, you just alienate people, and all you do is anger people, and you can't get nobody to work with you. You got to bring everybody together on this, and we have a past culture that I know working together we can all change.
Absolutely.
And this town's allowed it to go on for way too many years. So you know, I'm glad we're able to talk with you tonight, since you represent
Glad I
this,
came in and
this large faction
appreciate you
of our.
bringing it up and talking about it, and like I said, I'll do what I can with the housing authority and notifying the residents to.
Please, and we
make them
thank
part
you.
of that.
We thank you. We thank you very much.
I look forward to it.
You know, and I got a feeling a lot of the stuff that was there, unfortunately, I think the town's gonna be on the hook for. But the problem is, nobody's been willing to have this conversation. And this board is willing to. And if we can start it, it's gotta start somewhere,
There you go.
you know?
Good job.
So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now that we got this,
Well, with that note, can I ask?
go ahead, Tina.
In regards to, I guess this location, we don't have a owner or
Yep.
not, most likely not a updated address to send a letter.
viable owner.
But in regards to the 123 Spruce Street, could we possibly send him a letter from the Board of Health in regards to the trash? You can certainly look at the pictures, and I believe I showed them to you earlier, but at 123 Spruce Street, they have the trash that's outside the house. It's the deck, the backyard,
Sure.
et cetera.
Yep.
And it's all blowing out into the fire hydrant area as well as across the street or like the Winchendon furniture area. So could we send them a letter since it wasn't done, and that way we can
Well, like I
check the
said, the
progress?
stuff around the fire hydrant and everything, that's probably town property, but we can get the
If you look,
back deck.
but if you look at it, the property is here, and everything's blowing from their backyard. It seems to be like there's trails from the backyard. The backyard abuts like the fire hydrant. So it's coming through from the yard into.
So you feel like it's potentially blowing out of their dumpster, like from the lids maybe
or
not being kept shut or
trash
something?
bags. I don't believe they have a dumpster, from what I understand. So that all the trash and trash bags and other
So at the very
kinda
minimum,
items are
you'd like to see a
outside.
letter there asking the landlord to please start
picking up the trash.
being as attentive as possible to this property, because we feel that there's a potential, the areas around it may be being affected by that property.
Well, not only that, right, like I said, January 3rd, I went by and those same trash bags were there. As in the picture of,
From January the 3rd,
yes.
on that property.
Same location, right in front of the garage.
That's unacceptable.
So, and then I was not able to see or go into the yard because I can't step on the property.
Being it's
but
private property.
because I'm on the road walking, I'm able to see a lot of trash bags and trash on the deck, back
Yep.
deck, as well as the backyard. So a lot of it is kind of being blown.
We've
what I
had multiple
understand,
addresses in
it
town
is-
where, due to unfortunate circumstances, as you're describing, we've had to have the health agent go before and pay a visit where there's been 20, 30, 40 bags of rubbish at the tops of driveways at various locales, where he has had success speaking with them and they've made them go away. Thankfully, a lot of times, alls it takes is a visit by the health agent, and then they go, oh crap, he's knocking on the door, and then they clean it up. Usually once he's knocking on the door, but until then, he knocks on the door. Yes, Eddie?
I think Jim's gonna need someone else with him. There's quite a few of them in town right now.
Yep,
Well, I think if we send a letter, it's documented.
yeah,
And then also maybe a visit, or if he wants to go and take a drive-by and take a look for himself at the actual property. But I feel that a letter
Please make sure
in
you speak into the mic.
documentation needs to be
yep, yep.
warranted.
Make sure you're speaking to Mike Speakman.
And another thing, Jim, when you put out the letters, can you put like on the header on it, like warning number 1? And if they get another one, warning number 2, so that they know that it's being, you know,
Yeah,
they may
and
have
the
forgotten
letters
about
will
one.
be
and
kept in a file too sequentially, so.
They may forget about them. You can say, hey, you know, you were warned on this date, and you were warned on this date. It's like, it's getting kind of ridiculous here. You clean up the mess.
Absolutely.
Mr. Connor, did you say there's another meeting supposed to take place here at 7:30?
I'm told the Community Preservation Committee.
Okay, because I don't see anybody from them here yet. That's why I'm kind of confused.
I got a text that I was told it was at 7 o'clock, so that's why I was here.
and we haven't seen anybody walk in besides yourself and Mr. Rick Lucier.
I'll look on the town
You get it
website.
on April 1st?
Was it on the fourth floor?
I'm told it was the second.
Okay.
didn't see any other meeting.
Honestly, we didn't see anybody else walk in, so I didn't want you to think we were causing your meeting any trouble. Just trying to be respectful.
Until 7:30, and if they don't show up.
All right, just trying to be respectful. I didn't know if your meeting got canceled or anything.
If I may, I guess, looking on the town website of Winchendon, the calendar, and the CPA exploratory meeting is remote. It's via Zoom.
Oh, it is?
Yes,
Oh, I wasn't told that.
at 7:30. So
How's that working out for you?
if you go on the town website, it will have the Zoom link meeting.
Text saying it's on Zoom.
There you go.
Well, I'm
welcome.
glad I brought it up. But we're thankful you came here this evening anyway, sir.
I'm glad to be here, thank you.
Thank you. It worked out anyway. They didn't get you, but we were happy to have you. Okay, so Jim, you'll be able to send them a letter and go say hi?
Yes, absolutely.
Make the ever welcome Jim Abier appearance and say, hey, how you doing? Okay. All right, with that, we have another property I've been working with James on, and it's the first two properties on the beginning of River Street. One is on the peninsula across from the Waterville Plaza that Jim's been working with me with. And the second property is also owned by the same management group out of Nashua, New Hampshire, which is 418 River, or the yellow one right behind it, which is, I think, Jimmy, it's like a big 6-family or something like that. And
Correct.
the one on the peninsula is like, what, a 3-family, or 2 or 3, give or take?
It might be 4.
Is it? Okay. The owner is out of Nashua, New Hampshire. Jim has made multiple communications with this individual at my request, and the owner has not been very receptive, I think is a polite way to professionally put it. Through 3 winter storms, he had stuff on the peninsula by the little memorial island there, where people put out stuff for free on the side of the road. Well, it was there through the first snowstorm, we asked to remove it, and he didn't. And it was there through the second snowstorm, and we were still waiting for him to remove it, and he didn't. And it was there through a third snowstorm, we were waiting for him to remove it, and it was still there. And then it was raining, and the stuff got really soaked. Well, in the meantime, he had a 40-yard or 50-yard open-top dumpster. He was cleaning out parts of the building, and he filled the dumpster, and the stuff was still there. And at that point, I said, Jim, you need to get a hold of this gentleman again, and then Jim got a hold of him again. So he finally got most of the stuff off the side of the road. Then he had the dumpster removed, and then a bunch of stuff fell out of it and was on the ground 3 weeks ago all around the dumpster. Rugs, demo, whatever it is. So then Jim got a hold of him again for me. So nice little private businessman in town, Joe's Junket, was contracted by this individual. The individual made an effort, good faith effort, finally had Joe's Junket go. Joe's Junket was there Friday, picked up a lot of stuff. He removed a reclining chair that was over by the dumpster between the 2 buildings. Again, they're both owned by the same gentleman out of Nashua, New Hampshire, where it's registered on the town assessor's database. He removed the chair, he removed everything inside the fenced-in area, which was good. Matter of fact, I called Jimmy and updated him. He removed a mattress on the back side of the building facing Waterville Plaza. And then his trailer was finally full after especially cleaning out the fenced-in area with stuff he had already had. So I had asked as chair of the Board of Health if he knew, if the gentleman from Joe's Junket, what was going on. He actually reached out to the property owner, and the property owner had, Joe told him that the chair had approached him in good faith, politely, and the owner had told him that it was his intention to, at the time, just leave the tires there, which wasn't an option. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I should probably say that the owner did reach out to us again today.
Okay.
While I was doing soil testing.
Okay,
And did say that it is going to be continuing, and that he
Uh-huh.
expects to get it taken care of this week.
okay, good.
So-
That's where I was leading to this. It's actually, yeah. So when
And
I
he
had-
did specifically mention the tires.
Okay, good, because when I had called back Joe today, Joe had told me, actually on the phone, that's what I was getting to, that the owner said he was going to take care of it. And I said, good, because he's got the dumpster right between the 2 buildings. Perfect fit. Now, you had also said the building inspector was trying to work with him on 418 River Street about potentially a sprinkler system or something on that building?
I'm not sure what the project, I know that there's renos in the front building
Okay,
that the building inspector is gonna be going through as well.
Yeah.
They're going through the apartments there and totally redoing them, so.
okay. So, this particular piece of property, for 3 months now, we finally have a path of communication. The health agent has made multiple efforts to keep reaching out to this guy. And a lot of the health agent's efforts were continuously not acted upon by the owner after the health agent reached out. Now the guy is finally acting, because after speaking with the gentleman from Joe's Junket, Joe had actually told the owner that we were keeping an eye on the property. So thankfully, between the health agent reaching out multiple times, I've reached out, we've had some developments finally in a positive, thank God, way. But we want to make sure that this happens continuing in a positive way, because there has just been rugs and demo in the parking lot that nobody should have to look at. I talked to our town manager recently about the property. Our town manager is really big on wanting to get abandoned businesses full. And part of our, just like with the downtown district, our town manager, Justin Saltzback, has told me, I don't feel I can get businesses full when they're looking at blight, and that place has been a constant source of blight. So he also wants to see that place picked up as soon as possible, because that restaurant in that plaza, unfortunately, has been empty for a long time. Well, what was the previous one there, years ago? Wasn't it Zoe's?
It was Zoe's before they moved
Before
to
they
the-
moved up the road and had that
Correct.
beautiful place they moved
Yeah.
into, yeah. So, you know, we can't attract business, which is part of the town manager's downtown business district plan, when we have blight, hence getting rid of Four Seas Garage and everything else and putting in the park, you know? So, we want to make sure we work with the town manager on getting rid of blight, but at the same time, we want to make sure we do this for public health, too. Now, as Jim alluded to, at this time, we have the state sanitary code. But at this time, I want to confirm with you as our health agent, we do not at this time, I don't believe, if we ever were to find anybody potentially down the road or come to a place where we need it, we do not at this time have a set Board of Health set of fines at this time in place. I don't believe we do.
We can use the sanitary code for that. There are also the bylaws on illegal material that we can look into.
Okay.
Sanitary code is the one we usually lean on.
Yep.
Because in that one, we can go to the courts for
Yep.
Further enforcement.
Sure.
And the judges are usually, receptive, obviously, depending on the situation.
Sure. Every case is different.
Every case is different, but we have had an excellent record.
Yep.
I will have to say.
With the sanitary code.
Sanitary code in the
Yep.
courts. Unfortunately, that takes me
Out of the office.
out of the office.
Yep.
For a day,
Sure.
which is fine, it's just, it is hard to
Now, you just referring to
get
that.
things done when you're working on one case and there's
Yep.
20 more you
Yeah.
want to
Now-
get to.
Now, referring to that sanitary code, and Tina, I want you to know about this, we have an address on School Street. I don't want to feel like the person we're singling out. We have an address on School Street where recently I had asked Mr. Abear to go several weeks ago after the address was loaded with stuff for over a year. Of course, the health agent was told, oh yeah, I was going to get a dumpster for that. Okay, maybe you were, whatever. Not here nor there. The point is the health agent went at our request, paid a visit, and didn't you just say now that person has now 3 weeks later asked for a copy of the sanitary code, or do I have this wrong per our conversation?
Ask for a copy of the town bylaw. that I
Okay,
had
and
told them
how
about.
long ago was that copy asked for, Mr. Abear?
That was Thursday.
Okay, so do you feel moving forward with these properties, it would be advantageous to save you another trip to maybe in the future just give them a copy of the sanitary code right up front to save you from having to go back again, because people like this now drag it out 3 weeks and then ask for a copy of it, because I kind of feel like they're playing you a little bit. I'm not saying that you weren't smart enough to not be played. You know I'm not going there, because you've been doing this for over 2 decades. What I'm saying is, I feel like this person may be stretching you out for their own benefit, buying time for their benefit is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that this party is being disingenuous to you.
It's not beyond the,
Realm of
beyond,
possibility.
yeah, beyond the realm
Yeah,
of possibility.
yeah, I feel that, I feel like you're being taken disadvantage of, is what I'm saying, and the town is. So how long ago did you give this individual on School Street this copy of the sanitary code, sir?
I believe it was Thursday. I
Okay.
don't know exactly, but like I said, you know.
Okay, so they had 3 weeks, you gave them this copy Thursday. I want this board to see action on this property soon. They've had a month. You gave it to them last Thursday. This Thursday is gonna be additional week. They've had a month. These are the kind of properties that I feel are being disingenuous to our town. They've had a month to do something after they promised, oh yeah, I was gonna get to this. These are the people that I feel are disingenuous. And if you give us a leap of faith, give us a date, give the Board of Health something, just give us a date. Come to the health agent, and even if they come to you as our registered sanitarian and ask you for a date with extra time, give us a date to go by. But don't leave us hanging. It's not right. And it's not right to have to keep going back, taking you out of the office when you have a bunch of responsibilities I'm angered that the health agent has to keep going back to the same spot. It's not right. And I don't think the board likes it either. And you've got enough stuff to do. We don't need you to have to keep going back to the same place a million times with the amount of responsibilities you have, as underfunded as this office is in this town. And I'm saying it because it is. You look at other towns. Athol doesn't even have 1,000 people more than us. They got a 40-hour-a-week health agent, a 20-hour-a-week assistant, and that was before they got that giant industrial park full of stores. So I don't want to hear that this health agent is founded properly. Yes, Ed?
I got a question. Jim, could the building inspector revoke the occupancy permit?
No,
No? For sanitary code violation?
no.
Okay.
That would, I assume, only would attach to things like a restaurant or something, not a private residence, correct?
Correct.
They'd be business orientated. But thank you for the clarification on
So
that.
can I ask,
Yep.
has a letter been presented to them or anything documented? Not just a visit, but
Ask him.
anything on record, as in regards to a letter or some kind of document stating that you visited or that there is an issue?
Just
Just for-
visits and trying to work with them to clean up their property.
Perhaps we need to focus or make, I guess my question is, are those visits documented and/or formal enough?
So do you have
Whereas
it?
if we need to.
Oh, absolutely.
Continue or go forward,
Do you have a date, as Tina's
lawfully.
referring to, a date of when you first paid a visit? Do you have that?
Yeah,
in
they're
your-
usually written on my calendar.
Okay. And as he stated, you gave a letter last Thursday. All right?
Okay.
So I think I would like to see the board take a vote that based on, as of this coming Thursday on the calendar, this individual's had a good month. In other words, whatever is 1 month from the date you first paid a visit, I would like to say that this individual has an additional 1 month from that date to get the site cleaned up. That gives them 2 months. You're shaking your head no. Tell me why.
Each case is different. I would
Okay.
like we have to take it as that. And
But if we keep cutting everybody slack, we're sending the message that everybody can just take as long as they want. I'm not being
No.
rude. Please don't take it personally. I'm not attacking you, Jim. I love you, man. I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to figure out, how do we get this town moving forward? We can't.
If there were
let-
easy answers, it would be easy.
No, nothing's ever easy. I get it. That's why we're having this conversation. But we can't just let everybody keep taking their time. I mean, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. What if this person wants 6 months? That porch has already been full of junk for a year. How long do they have? It's already been there for a year that I've witnessed. So they already had a year, and it's already been a month. And I just said, let's give them another month. And how long, you know what I'm saying? How
Yep,
long?
I understand.
What I'm asking you is, what in your professional judgment, how long do you feel we should give them as a board? Throw us a bone. That's all I'm asking. I'm not trying to put you on the
No,
spot.
I'm, however the board wants to proceed is fine with me. We have given, we've tried to work with them.
Yeah, and don't, like I said, I'm not attacking you, okay? You know, I know
I
how
know,
this
I
office
understand.
has got a ton of work on its shoulders for its man hours. I've supported you through and through, you know that. I'm just saying that I just feel like we're at the point in this town where we gotta start somewhere. And as unpopular as it is, and I'm not trying to be offensive or, but we need to start addressing problem properties in this town. And I'm not saying you haven't, because you've made a ton of visits. You have made, to your credit, a ton of visits. Yes, Eddie?
I can see what's gonna happen is the owner is gonna go drive around town and take pictures of every single place that has anything out.
Mm-hmm, let them.
It's gonna be like, well, what about him, and what about him, and what about him? I don't know, I'm just trying to,
Basically, what I
See
say
ahead.
in that is, we're not talking about them, we're talking about you right now.
yeah, okay.
Right, they have a responsibility, and they need to take ownership.
Yeah.
It has come to our attention.
I would like to,
I
how about
agree.
this? I would like to see the board potentially say, you've already had 30 days, give or take. I would like to see the board potentially say, you have another 30 days to present the Board of Health with an action plan. We're not saying it's got to be cleaned up in 30 days. You have 30 days additional to present us with an action plan. There you go. You have 30 days to let the health agent know how you plan to take care of this. The Board of Health would like an action plan within 30 days.
Can we do that, Jim?
We're not fining you, we're asking
Yeah,
for an
it's,
action
in
plan.
this situation, like I said before, every situation, in this situation, it's not, food or anything like that, it's junk.
We're asking for an
we're
action
just-
plan. We're asking for a leap of faith.
Now, if it were, something like that, we'd probably want to put more pressure than, if it was
Yeah.
food and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's not food.
But still,
Yeah,
either way, it really needs to be addressed, and the
Yep.
owner of the property needs to address it.
sure. So I think I'm really being quite charitable here by just saying, we'll give you an additional 30 days to provide the health agent with an action plan. That's all.
You want me to make a motion for that?
Please do. And the address is for 65 School Street.
65 School Street. I'll make a motion that the health agent sends a letter to the homeowner or the owner of 65 School Street requesting an action plan within a month, 30 days.
Second.
Motion has been made addressing 65 School Street to bring up an action plan to clean up the property within 30 days. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, Tina Santos.
Aye.
Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And the health agent will send them a very polite letter that has given them 2 months from the initial visit to come up with an action plan. I think that's quite friendly.
That's adequate.
It's more than adequate, it's quite friendly. It's not threatening a fine, it's not being aggressive, it's giving them 2 months from the date of contact to just give us some guidance on what do you feel you can do and when can you do it by. I think it's building a bridge. It's not threatening anybody, it's reaching out the olive branch. Okay, as for the first 2 properties we had discussed with the gentleman from Nashua, New Hampshire on River Street, he has told you in a good faith effort, we know he had Joe's Junket down there as a contractor cleaning up. He told you he's gonna get it done, the rest of it this week. Those were his words. So we're gonna take him at his word. We're gonna take him at his word, Jimmy. And, a week from today, come Monday, I'll drive by and I'll take a look.
And we'll see what
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I mean, Joe did pick up a lot of stuff, to his credit. The guy paid him to pick up a lot of stuff. He cleaned out the whole fenced-in area to the right of that gray building, Tina. There was a lot of stuff in the fenced-in area. There's currently some tires next to the building. The front left entrance closer to the main road is still got rubbish in front of it. There's rugs and drywall and stuff in the main parking lot that have been there for several weeks, but he did pay to get rid of the first round. He said he's gonna get rid of it this week. We'll give him a chance to, as a property owner, to give him a chance to be a man of his word and take him at that. And we'll revisit it if we need to. Fair enough.
With that,
Eddie,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
motion has been made to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion has been made to adjourn and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn. Tina Santos.
Aye.
Ed Bond.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The meeting is adjourned at 7:47 PM.